Well, good evening and welcome to the Midweek Word. Last week, Matt stated that a lot of people have troubles and issues during this time of year. And I agree with him. In Hebrews, the writer says that we have an advocate, that we have a high priest that has been touched by our infirmities. We have a high priest that was tempted in all areas but without sin. And the writer goes on to say, therefore, let us come boldly before the throne of grace to obtain mercy and find grace to help in a time of need. So tonight we're going to do a little something different. We're going to listen to a short story about two brothers that are navigating life during this time of year. So let's sit back and listen to a short story that was written and narrated by Tiera Thompson, called Boldly Go.
Derek laid on his couch, buried under blankets and sweaters. He was in no hurry to move. It was 1 week before Christmas and freezing cold. Although he had an apartment, the heat was not on. He couldn't afford it. That wasn't unusual for Derek. He was rarely treated to nice things, and in the end he never expected them. His mother was usually concerned about her next hit, sniff, shot, or bottle more than him or his older brother. She continually squandered money on useless boyfriends, dangerous substances, or all-around bad decisions. As he lay in bed, scenes of his childhood flooded his mind. He could see all of the broken bottles, cigarettes, and fights, the same fights that drove his older brother Daryl away. Derek would have left too, and in some ways he felt like he should have left, but he just couldn't. He couldn't abandon his mother. For every time she yelled, or wasted money, or fell into another man's arms, he still loved her. She was still his mother. It was his job, no, his purpose, to care for her and to give her the best life he could. As Derek thought of all these things, he let out a sigh. His breath turned to smoke and engulfed the light in front of him. It was time to get up, he said to himself. He had to be at work in a couple of hours, and breakfast wasn't going to make itself. Slowly he grunted and slinked off the couch. He shuffled across the one-bedroom apartment and opened the door to the bedroom. As usual, his mother was draped across the bed with a half-empty liquor bottle in one hand and an extinguished cigarette in the other. He rolled his eyes, removed the bottle and cigarette, then tucked her into bed. She moaned and whimpered as he shuffled her around. When he turned to leave the room, she sighed. You're a good boy, Derek. Better than that trifling brother of yours. You won't leave your mama. Derek didn't say anything, and he continued toward the kitchen. Come back. Talk to your mama for a while, she beckoned. Derek turned around. Look, Ma, I gotta get to work, and I still have to make breakfast. I don't have time for this. She forced tears out of her eyes and began to wail. You don't care about me. I gave up everything for you. I've always loved you, and I've always treated you well. You were just going to treat me just like your brother did. Derek sighed and thought of the irony. There were necessities like heat that he couldn't pay for because of the bottles surrounding her that he did pay for. He thought of the opportunities that passed by and the comforts he could have enjoyed, all of them gone, and in their place, empty liquor bottles and cigarette ash. Nonetheless, that was his mother. He owed her his life. So he sighed and sat down beside her. What do you want, Ma? He asked patiently, knowing that she always wanted something. I need $20. What? We don't have heat, hardly any food, and you're asking me for money? Come on, I would do it for you, she begged. Derek reached into his pocket. He didn't have $20. I only got $5, Ma. What? Where's all your money? She questioned. I spent it to take care of us. All of it? She rolled her eyes. Fine, just give me the 5. I can't, Mom. That's for my lunch. You work at a diner. Why do you need lunch money? Our lunches are free, Derek said back. They're just half off. She continued to plead. Come on, please just give me the money. Derek looked down at his mom, frail, thin, discolored teeth, and dull eyes, with only a shimmer of her beauty that survived the years of self-abuse. Derek's heart broke every time he saw her. He just couldn't take it. He gave her the money and left the room. He was so angry he couldn't look at her anymore. He went into the kitchen to make breakfast. The cabinets were bare with just a little corner of grits. He made the grits, left them for his mother, got dressed, and walked out of the house. It was going to be a long and hungry day. Derek walked down the 2 flights of stairs and onto the main street. He looked up and saw the familiar corner stores, dealers, kids, and runners. The diner he worked in was a few blocks away, so he didn't mind not having a car. He was used to the streets. He knew who to look at and who to avoid, where to walk and when to run. It was what he had always known. On the way to work, he would often swing by his great-grandmother Sophia. She was a block away from the diner, 97 years old, totally blind, but still in her right mind. She had her own apartment and a nurse that helped during the day. Derek would come by and perform chores and tasks that her nurse couldn't or wouldn't do. Sometimes he would come by just to sit with her so she would have someone to talk to. Hey, Grandma, how you doing? Derek opened the door to the little apartment and then walked in. He smiled when he heard the hanging pans. They were always colliding as if a gust of wind were playing with them. It caused them to ring like wind chimes. It didn't matter if the window was open or closed, if the heat was on or off. They softly danced in the distance. When he entered, he saw a small bowl of grits, bacon, and eggs, with a small glass of orange juice. Oh, you eating good this morning, huh, Grandma? She replied, That's not for me, that's for you. As she came in from the bedroom and slowly made her way to her favorite chair. How did you know? He wasn't able to finish his question before she cut in. I do more than talk to God, I listen too. Derek let out a half smile. Thanks, Grandma. I appreciate it, but you didn't have to do this. You should be taking it easy. It's hard enough getting breakfast on the table, and you can't even see. Don't tell me what I'm capable of, young man. His grace is sufficient for me. Derek shook his head in exasperation and glanced over at the old beat-up Bible on the coffee table. She had it for decades and knew it cover to cover. It was lost to him why she kept it if she can't read it. You got a problem with my Bible? Derek looked at her. But how did you know? I told you. I listen. Yeah, you told me. Look, Grandma, I know you don't have much and you need this more than I do. I will be okay. Don't waste it on me. Derek, I have raised too many kids for a kid to tell me what I need to do and what is a waste. Sit down and eat. You have to go to work. I told you His grace is sufficient for me. I just want you to have many more days, Grandma. Who else is going to keep my head straight? Derek replied, smiling. Don't you worry about me, baby. I'm fine. I'm going to see the new year. How do you know that, Grandma? Wait, let me guess. You listen. I sure do, and I believe I'm going to actually see. Grandma, you haven't seen anything in 20 years. Look, I know what I heard, Sophia snapped back. Don't you think he meant you're going to make it to the new year? Asked Derek. I know what I heard, and I know what I believe, responded Sophia. Right, Grandma. And you don't believe? Sophia asked. I do believe in God, Grandma, but with so many people, I don't think he is really concerned about me. I am no one special. You and I, we're one in billions of people. Why would he care enough to restore your sight, or help me, or even my mother? Sophia looked at her great-grandson and responded. He knows my name, and he knows your name. He is more than concerned for you. He has plans for you, plans to prosper you, plans for a hope in the future. His plans are more than you living for a stumbling, drunk, doped-up mama. That's my mama you're talking about, Derek looked up intently. I know, and she's my granddaughter too, Sophia continued. She has her own race to run, and you can't do it for her. She has to work this relationship out with the Father by herself. Grandma, life just hasn't been easy for her. Don't talk to me about easy, Sophia rose her voice. You don't know what I've been through or the testimony God has given me. Derek hung his head. But you're so strong. She isn't like that. I'm not like that. I am not strong, Sophia pointed up to the ceiling. He is strong. He gives me strength. Well, Derek said calmly, like I said, I don't think he is concerned about me or my mom. Huh, laughed Sophia. Well, why don't you think about what you just said while you eat your breakfast that I wasn't supposed to know about? I'ma pray. Lock the door when you leave. Derek looked down at his breakfast and started to take a bite. As Sophia turned to pray, she stopped and said, The Bible tells us to boldly go before the throne to receive grace in our time of need. Boldly doesn't mean smug, but with purpose and confidence. If you want victory and strength in this life, you need that grace. You have to do more than believe in God. You have to believe that He cares for you. You have to believe that you are worth something to Him and yourself. Once you do that, don't just go before the throne of God. Boldly go. And with that, Sophia picked up her Bible and bowed her head. Derek finished his breakfast. When he picked up his bowl to put it in the sink, there was a crumbled $5 bill waiting for him. He smirked, picked up the money, walked out, and locked the door. Daddy, Daddy, Allison screams. Are you coming to church with us tonight? No, honey, I have to work. Oh, Daryl, you say that every time. I can't tell you the last time you went to church with us. It's not even a message tonight. We're just going to help with the food drive while the kids practice for the Christmas Eve play. Allison chimes in. I'm going to be an angel. Look, Michelle, I'm not going. That's it. That's the end of it. I'm not talking about it anymore. There isn't any need to be crabby, Daryl. Ugh, you're just so angry all the time. Michelle rolled her eyes and left to finish getting the girls ready to go. Daryl pressed his forehead against the bedroom window and winced. Michelle didn't know how right she was about that anger. He thought to himself, why am I so angry? He slammed his fist against the window. I need to get out of here. He decided to take a drive. He grabbed his keys and stepped out of his upscale single-family home and into his Mercedes. As the garage lifted, he saw the familiar sight of kids making snowmen, decorated lampposts, shovel-clean sidewalks, and Santa Claus's ringing bells. He started out of the driveway and waved to his wife and 2 girls as they piled into the SUV to go to church. Daryl continued to drive throughout the manicured suburb and kept driving until he made it into the city. He drove down some familiar streets and thought about his childhood and his mom. He thought about the last day he ever saw her. He was 18 and got in a fight with one of her boyfriends. She threw him out. She chose that doped-up dealer over her own son, he thought. That day, he decided, was the last day she would abuse him. He decided that no one was going to treat him that way and that he was worth more than that. And if she wanted that boyfriend, she could have him. He left and never went back. The further he drove, the madder he got. He finally stopped at a bar. He went in and sat down for a drink. One drink, he thought to himself. Next thing he remembered was Michelle pulling him out of the car. His Mercedes was now crashed into a light post a quarter mile from his house. "What's wrong with you? It's a miracle you made it this far," Michelle screamed. "Leave me alone," Daryl said with slurred speech as he yanked away from her. "I'm fine." "You are not fine. You almost killed yourself. And look at what you did to the car." "I know you started drinking more, Daryl, but this is going too far." "I know how far too far is, Michelle. Leave me alone." "Where do you think you're going?" Michelle continued to press him. "I'm going home," he screamed, stumbling in the direction of the house. "You're going to walk all the way at 3 o'clock in the morning, screaming and stammering like that?" Michelle asked. "Leave me alone. You are not my mother, and that is my house." "Come into the car, Daryl. I'll drive you home." "Leave me alone," he yelled again. Michelle got back into the SUV and left him alone. Daryl stumbled around until he fell into a pile of snow and drifted to sleep. He woke up with the sun around 7, cold and with a headache that would wake the devil. He finished walking the few feet to his house and walked in. Allison ran up. "Daddy, where you been?" Daryl shoved by her toward the bedroom, shouted, "Leave me alone," and slammed the door. Derek showed up to work on time as he usually does. His boss, Mr. Cleaver, walked up. "Derek, my boy," as he slapped him on his back, "I got some good news for you. You know that community initiative that was started a while ago? We thought they was just talking, but they weren't. They really want to make a change and bring us some help. They are starting trade schools and classes. One of them is a culinary institute. You can get good training, my boy, a certificate, and one of those jobs in a fancy restaurant in a little pretty suburb." He laughed. "Mr. Cleaver, you know I can't leave my mom. This is a real opportunity, my boy, and you need to look into it." Mr. Cleaver handed him the brochure and slapped him on the back again. "Now get to work." Derek looked at the brochure as he put on his apron. Just then, he got a call from his mom. "Hey, baby, Deshaun is going to swing by the diner and drop something off for me." "What Deshaun? Ex-boyfriend Deshaun? Drug dealer Deshaun?" "Yeah. He just gonna drop something off for me. Bring it home to Mama." "Yo, Ma, I can't do that. You know Mr. Cleaver got no time for that stuff in his diner. I can get into some serious trouble. Tell him to go to the house." "I can't, baby. I'm not home." "Where you at?" "I'm going out with some friends." "Now, I'm your mother. Stop asking me all these questions and deliver my package. Love you, babe. Bye." "Why does she always do stuff like this?" Derek mumbled to himself. "Get to work!" "I'm coming, Mr. Cleaver. I'm coming." It was a busy day, and Derek didn't mind. That meant the day moved quickly. He was busy, too busy to see Deshaun come in. "Hey, man, been a while. Got something for your mom." "Man, Deshaun, be quiet. I need this job." "Man, you call this a job? What they giving you?" "Man, never mind. I see it ain't enough. Look, come with me and I can make you some real money." Derek shook his head. "Deshaun, man, I will never work for you." Deshaun looked very offended and said, "Yo, Derek, no need to be disrespectful. I'm doing your mom's a favor." "She don't need any favors from you," Derek replied. "Just give her the package, man. And next time, show some respect." Deshaun slipped a little package inside Derek's apron pocket. "Is that you, Deshaun Johnson?" yelled Mr. Cleaver from across the diner. "What are you doing here? I don't want you here. I told you that." Hey, man. I just came in for a sandwich," Deshaun taunts jokingly. "Is this a place of business or not?" "It's not a place of business for you, Deshaun. Get out." Fine. Cleaver, I'm out." "Remember what I said, Derek. Respect." Deshaun turned around and walked out. Derek went back to work. At the end of the day, he hung up his apron and went back home. Once Derek arrived home, he started dinner. It wasn't much, but some beans and cornbread. Once finished, he waited for his mother and waited and waited. After a while, he just went to bed on the couch until he was startled awake at 4 o'clock in the morning by his mother and yet another male friend slamming into the door. He opened the door while his mother stumbled into the apartment. Woo-hoo! Talk about a party! Ma, do you know what time it is? Ma, do you know what time it is? She mocks back. Derek knew that there was no talking to her when she was like this. So he said goodbye to her friend and helped her shuffle to bed. A few hours later, she stirred. Derek! 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 Derek opened the bedroom door. What? Where's my package? Ugh. Man, I left it in my apron pocket at work. What? His mom said. I need it. I need it. Derek shook his head. I'll get it when I go back to work later today. No, she said. I need it now. Go get it. Derek grabbed his coat and walked to Cleaver's to retrieve the package. When he got to the diner, he noticed that his apron was gone. As he looked for it, Cleaver yells, Is that you, Derek? I need to speak to you. Derek walked to Cleaver's office. Yes, Mr. Cleaver? Looking for this? Cleaver held up the package. Derek dropped his head. Cleaver continued. You brought this stuff here? You know how I feel about it. I thought you were more than this. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. As much as I like you, Derek, I can't make any exceptions. And as much as this hurts me, you have to go. Here's your last paycheck. Mr. Cleaver handed Derek a white envelope. Derek was dumbfounded. As bad as things were, they just got a lot worse. He was barely holding on to it as it was, and now he had to find another job, and quickly. Derek walked out of the diner, clutching the envelope. He opened it, and he saw his last paycheck, along with the brochure for the Culinary Institute. He thought maybe now was the time to try something new. What he had been doing all his life just wasn't working. If he could manage to finish the program, then maybe, just maybe, he could carve out a better life for himself and his mother. He went home and told his mother that he had lost his job. You lost your job? She screams. What are we supposed to do now? How could you be so stupid? No, I did not raise a lazy bum. You need to go get another job. I know, Ma. I'm going to look for one. Or I thought I may go back to school. They have a new culinary institute. Go to school? Culinary institute? Isn't that too big of a word for you? No, she shook her head. That's not for you. You can't handle that. What are we going to eat? We need food now. We don't have time for you to go to school. Where are we going to live? Derek looks up pensively. I thought I could get something part-time and maybe you could get something. She cuts Derek off. Me? Work? I can't work. You know how sick I get. I get so tired. You were supposed to love me, Derek. You were supposed to take care of me. If you're having trouble, why don't you call Deshaun? I know he can get some work for you. Derek's countenance hardens. Deshaun is why we're in this mess in the first place. No, he isn't. His mother jerks her finger in Derek's face. Your stupidity is why we're in this mess. Call Deshaun. No, Derek jumps up. I will find another job and I will take care of us. Derek storms out of the house and slams the door so hard that a half-empty bottle of vodka fell off the kitchen table and smashed on the floor. Dad, Dad, tonight's Christmas Eve. Tonight is the play. Allison jumped in excitement. Daryl groaned. Be quiet, sweetie. Daddy has a headache. You have a lot of headaches now, Dad. Yeah, I know, Daryl said as he rubbed his temples. Allison sauntered into the guest bedroom and looked around at her father's things. She inquired, Why are you sleeping in this room now, Daddy? What's wrong with your room? Daryl shook his head. Nothing. I'm just snoring too loud for your mother. Michelle rolled her eyes as she listened in from the kitchen. Are you coming to the play tonight? Allison asked. I don't think so, darling. I just don't feel well. Oh, please, Daddy, you have to come. I'm the angel. Daryl replied, I really don't feel well, sweetie. Please, please, Allison begged. Be quiet, Allison. Daddy doesn't feel well. Please, please, please. Be quiet. Please. Stop it, Allison. Please, please. Shut up, Allison. Allison froze in fear and shock. She had never seen her father do that. After a few moments of disbelief, she burst into tears and ran to her room. Daryl, feeling horrible after losing his temper, looked up to see the deadly, focused, and disapproving eyes of his wife. Without a word, he knew she had had enough. All he could say was, I'm sorry. She responded, Yes, you are, then turned around and went to comfort Allison. Daryl rose from the guest bed and went to the nearest bar. The Christmas Eve play got off to a roaring start. The church was full and everything was in its place. Michelle managed to get Allison motivated and excited about the play again. Allison was twirling backstage in her glittering angel wings and halo. Michelle put on the finishing touches as Allison rehearsed her lines. It was soon time for her to go on stage. Michelle smiled from backstage as Allison ran into the limelight, smiling ear to ear, ready to perform her lines, just as she had practiced. As soon as Allison went to speak, a voice rang out throughout the church. Now isn't that the prettiest angel you ever seen? Daryl said, stumbling between the pews. He made it to the center and started walking towards the stage. I mean, she is perfect. Everyone in the church started whispering to each other. Michelle looked for one of the ushers to help escort her inebriated husband out of the church. As people rushed to quiet him, he kept talking. That's my daughter. As people grabbed hold of him, he started fighting, yelling, and screaming. Allison looked down in horror, and then the tears flowed. Completely humiliated, she ran off the stage while her father bumped into decorations, people, and stands. It took 8 men to control him and to take him outside to the church steps. When he looked up, he saw the same eyes he had seen earlier that day. No more, Michelle said sternly but calmly. This is not a conversation. I have no need or desire to hear you speak. You are a danger to me, the kids, and quite frankly, yourself. You have 1 hour to go home, get what you need, and get out. When you are sober, we will discuss the terms of our divorce. Daryl sat up to say something. Michelle cut him off. No, not a conversation. Then she walked back into the church to find Allison. Daryl sat outside the church on Christmas Eve and had nowhere to go. He was too ashamed to go home and pack anything, and he was too drunk to drive anywhere. So he called a taxi, got in, and said, "Drive to the city."
Okay, this concludes part 1 of our short story. Be sure to join us next week as we continue and conclude the short story, Boldly Go. God bless and have a wonderful evening.